Welcome to our Devil. Today we are taking a look at r/MaliciousCompliance. Our first story is from Rocketman3487. You wanna fire me in the middle of my shift but have me stay until the end? Okay, I'll bite. About 15 years ago when I was about 20, I got a job at a new Panera opening in my town. I worked there exactly 5 days. After 2 days of working the salad line and making sandwiches, which was honestly fun, I was told I was being moved to the kitchen. I didn't mind because I love to cook and bake. So I was excited. For about 1 whole minute. When I showed up on my 3rd day, I get walked to the kitchen. I'm so stoked. I stop at the chef line. But the manager keeps walking. I stop at the baker line. But the manager keeps walking. He stops in front of the dishwasher. He says I'm gonna be washing dishes for a couple days because they hadn't hired one yet, or he quit instantly. But I'll never know. I give it my do best attitude for 5 days. It's a damn big pill to swallow. I suddenly realize the back end of a bakery/restaurant to be much harder than I ever thought, and I've worked in the back prior. Just not at this level before, so mucho props to all you back of the house workers. I have always worked counters, even maintenance, but never that hard. And I started to fail because I was feeling dejected and being talked down to. Come my 3rd day on dishes. And the last day at Panera. I show up on time. And it was a pretty busy night. So there was lots to get to. I try so hard. But by then we're open. So freshly dirty plate tubs are coming back in groves. Starts piling up on the counter. Then on the floor. Halfway through my shift. My lunch is late. Before I go to lunch, they pull me into the office. And tell me they're letting me go. Like this. We're so sorry to say. But we have to let you go. You're just not keeping up. But, would you please stay and finish your shift first? I was floored. But, I did it. Just not with my do best attitude. I proceed to wash 1 pan at a time in the industrial washer we have. More tubs are piling up. My coworkers asking what's going on, I explain and they understand and support thankfully, so even more tubs pile up. Now on the floor. Before I even finish the pans. Come the end of my shift. I knew my managers were gonna have to stay and wash the dishes. But they were courteous enough and told me that, as a parting gift and thanks for trying, I could take home whatever I wanted from the store. So I did. Over $120 I think in fresh breads and pastries of all delicious varieties. I gave most of it away. Heard from a friend like a year later they were pissed about that for a while. But couldn't do anything. Which got them more pissed. It wasn't my finest hour. But I don't regret it one bit. Moral of the story. Don't fire your employees mid-shift. But ask them to stay. And expect any kind of quality. TLDRI got fired mid-shift. And was still able to legally steal from my sudden ex-employer. Comment by C. Syllabub 7545. I was both kitchen manager and service manager at Chipotle. Part of the job of being a manager means helping out in every position when it's needed. Any station that's struggling, you jump in that mess and you stay until it's more manageable. We also had a very strict, if you're not on the clock, you're not working. No matter what. Policy. If you're doing something for the company, you're going to get paid for it. After working at a busy store for a while, you can instantly start noticing bad managers at other restaurants. Sucks you went through that. Comment by S0UTH3Y. Firing you for not keeping up as a dish pig was your giveaway that they had no intention of making you the dishwasher temporarily while they hired a permanent guy. That was you. That was gonna be your full-time, permanent position. When you couldn't keep up, they didn't switch you back to what they'd allegedly hired you to do. That was just the bait all along. Comment by Average Nut Job. Panera sucks so bad these days. 20 years ago. I loved it. They cut every corner possible with quality and then started trimming at quantity. The French onion soup used to be fantastic. It is barely edible now. So many things taste of preservatives. High fructose corn syrup. And too much salt. I will never darken their door again. Our next story is from No Concept 9848. I was told this belongs here, they got what they asked for lol. Here's 33% of your website. You're welcome. I had a trophy wife client who had a frozen yogurt business paid for by her husband. They contacted me and asked me to design and build a new website for her business. I gave them a quote and they asked if they could pay in 3 installments. After we all agreed to the terms, I had written approval and I received my 33% deposit. I got cracking. We had regular check-ins and they were happy with the progress until one day they just went quiet. They were already behind on the second payment and I was growing impatient. I was done with the site and just needed final approval and payment before launching it, but I couldn't get hold of either of them. I eventually got hold of the lady at her day job after weeks of being ghosted. She calmly told me that they found someone cheaper and that they won't be paying the remaining 66% even though the project was complete and all their feedback was addressed. She told me that I could just give her 33% the files and move on with my life. I made it clear that websites don't really work if you only upload 33% of the files. Sarcastically. At which point she hung up the phone. I still had their FTP details for their brand domain that housed their current, old website. So I decided to take revenge. I created a page with an animated fake loading bar that was stuck at 33%. Underneath the loading bar was the message, "This company does not pay their suppliers." They decided to pay only a third of the price, so now they have only a third of a website. I went as far as to download the website files, split it up in roughly 3 portions, file size, and upload a zip folder containing a third of the files to the FTP folder. This way I actually gave them the 33% they paid for and I could show the file size to prove it. I also permanently deleted the old site's files from the folder so they couldn't restore from a backup. Not that they'd have a clue how to do that. They threatened to sue me. I'm still waiting. Comment by Arizona Coyote. One of my old friends would plow snow and lay salt during the winter. He had a customer stiff him. And the guy said, "There's nothing you can do about it." Wrong answer. For the next 2 years my buddy took great enjoyment of plowing that guy's neighborhood for free. And would put every bit of the snow in front of his house. Driveway. Sidewalk. Front yard. As much as he could pile there. Then some days when he was feeling particularly assholish if it was cold enough, he would bring 2 5-gallons of water with him, and pour it on top of the snow so it would get nice and crunchy. Anyone living in the Midwest knows just how much fun it is to move snow that is mostly compressed ice from the plows. After 2 years of this, the guy gave up and said, "Okay. I'll pay you double what I owed you if you'll just please stop." He relented and took the cash. But not before commenting, "Turns out there is something I can do about you not paying." I aspire to that level of petty antagonistness. Comment by Sumo Nova. Comment by Mediocre Petrichor. One thing I've learned is that anyone who threatens to sue via media that is not a letter from a lawyer is not going to sue. Our next story is from Corporate Sharkbait. "Just deal with it? Sure we will, ma'am." Another comment I responded to on a thread reminded me of this story, so figured it might amuse y'all. This was around 2013-14. So I don't remember all the details. Also on mobile, so please forgive poor formatting. I used to work at a popular retailer that sold video games, toys, etc. When I worked there, we had 2 demo console displays to advertise the latest gaming consoles. Each display had a few demos provided that were always updated to the newer releases the company wanted to advertise. Our store was in a large retail outdoor mall. It was common for parents to come in and direct their kids to the display so they could shop for themselves and slash or kid in peace without making sure they weren't making a mess or fuss. This normally wasn't a problem. Heck, even sometimes teenagers would come in just to play a few rounds on the displays and leave. As long as they weren't disruptive, no one really cared. For reference, these displays were at the very front of the store next to the door. Stage is set. One day, a parent comes in with her kid and starts to set him up at one of our gaming displays. Pretty normal. Then they just walk out after the kid is all set. Unless it's the holidays or a special event day. It's normally just 2 people on shift. My assistant manager, seeing this, bolted to the door to get the mom to take her child. As he's yelling out the door she can't just leave her kid here. She yells back, "I'm just going to browse the bookstore. Just deal with him until I'm back." "Sure ma'am. We'll deal with it all right." My ASM comes back in and tells me to call the emergency police line explaining a parent abandoned their child at our store. Our local police department was only a few blocks away, so an officer showed up quickly. He was very pleasant and to help make sure the kid wasn't scared. Hyped him up about taking a ride in the police car to wait for him. Mom. Kid got to ride into the front seat and even got to see the lights and sirens. Officer told us he'd call the parent and we were good to go. About 30 mail in later, the mom came back. She was livid. She swung the door open screaming about how dare we call the cops and not watch her son like we said we would. My ASM reminded her we told her we could not watch her kid and that she did indeed tell us to just deal with it. So we did. Moral of the story: don't leave your kid to be babysat by underpaid employees. Comment by Joyce the Big. I worked at Dunkin' Donuts and a little boy came in one day by himself. Maybe 8 or 9. He just wanted to sit. So he hung out while I worked with my coworker for like 2 hours. I gave him a free blueberry muffin and a water. He ate the muffin and threw up. I had read a book about a little kid in WW2 helping an airman and then starving. If you're starving and you eat, you throw up. I quietly went to the back and called the police because I knew at that point the little boy was a runaway. I came back to the front and he looked at my face and he knew. He ran out the door. I was 17 at the time at my first job and I didn't know if I did the right thing. I didn't know how to help him. Not related but duck bad parents. Comment by Heistedjamau. It's not that you're underpaid. You're not qualified childminders. You're not in a creche. Calling the cops is something I would do. That, mum, when all screechy means hopefully she remains on the CPS radar. Comment by Terrible Border 6885. I'm a fan of just selling them to passing nomadic tribes. Our next story is from Michael Shing. Sorry, you said you were allergic. Another restaurant story from a few years ago. I cook or wait tables depending on how long it takes me to get fed up with one or the other and I need a change. We always have to be very conscious of allergies in food service as it can be life or death for some people for shellfish allergies, nut allergies, celiacs, etc. Enter gluten-free trend crowd. While I recognize some people have a legit allergy, there are so many that are trying to be trendy. The big difference is that a person with a true allergy has an already general idea of what they can and cannot have and will start the whole process off before ordering by letting you know what said allergy is. Which we appreciate as it saves time. No big deal. The trendy gluten-free peeps need to tell you 3 times throughout their order. And then always end up backtracking after they find out that basically everything they desire to order either contains gluten or is potentially cross-contaminated. I was waiting this time around and I started getting tired of hearing about it. We had a particular almost daily regular who would tell us every time about her gluten intolerance. Tell all the people sitting near her about it. Then proceed to order items that had gluten. I was having a bad day. She comes in. Does her normal spiel about being allergic to gluten. I say, yup. Wasn't sufficient enough attention for her. She emphasizes what it does to her delicate system because she's allergic. She orders the usual food cooked and prepared in the fryers, which have had gluten-ridden food fried in them all day. I'm thoroughly annoyed now having to listen to her graphic details about her gut and the effects from gluten. I, as usual, inform her the fryers are cooked in with items containing gluten. As she says the normal, oh that's fine. I have an evil idea pop into my head. Ma'am, you just said you're allergic to gluten. I cannot in good conscience put this restaurant or my job at risk by serving you food that you will have an allergic reaction to. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to pick another item. She's shocked. Starts backtracking. I stand firm. No. I'm sorry. But I just can't do it. If you get sick from the food because I was careless about your allergy, then I could lose my job. These are the items you can choose from. Today. Calls manager over. Momager backs me up after hearing the story. Manager was tired of her too. Lady indignantly orders one of the items I listed to save face. Obviously no tip. But I don't care, it was worth it. Still came back 2 days later miraculously cured of her gluten allergy. Comment by Jalin6769. So my aunt is actually deathly allergic to gluten, also milk and other things, and has been for as long as I can remember. When she used to go grocery shopping, it was a massive pain for her. Not only was it expensive for her to buy the things she could eat, she would also have to spend lots of time looking at ingredients lists to see if that particular food item will kill her or not. She loves the gluten-free trend and has explained the reason to me as this: gone are the days of her needing to read ingredients lists. Why? Because of the trend. Companies are doing that work for her by just printing gluten-free on the packaging. She has said that so many options are now available to her and she loves it. Comment by Who You Yes You. I have a minor lactose intolerance problem, lactose sensitivity, which does play havoc with my guts. Comment by Mad Pirate Bippy. I'm not allergic to gluten, but it makes me fart like a Gatling gun. So I avoid gluten for the love of my family. If I really want bread though, they better crack a window. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video, smash the like button, and subscribe to our Devil. See you in the next one.